Hey guys, welcome to your third ActionScript 3 tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at moving shapes. The first thing that we need to do is to set up an update timer. And basically what an update timer is that it's a timer, surprise, surprise, that continuously updates. And that's not why it's called an update timer, but it calls a function that we're going to write called update. You're probably thinking, what the heck's a function? All right, we already wrote a main function, and basically the computer goes into the class main, creates it, and then this is a constructor function. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold, so I probably sound like crap. But the public function is a constructor, and it gets called right when you create an instance of main. It's called. Like, this circle is an instance of the object type shape. So basically, when Flash works, it creates an instance of main, it calls this, and then all this gets executed once. So if we wanted to have it happen every single frame, like a game does, we have to write an update loop, so then it continuously does it over and over and over again, right? So, what we're going to do first is we're going to delete everything up until add child. Make sure you still have 3 of these squiggly brackets at the end, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. Alright. Also, another good way, if you can tell that they're all matched up, is click after them, and you'll see the corresponding one light up. Very useful, because every once in a while, sometimes you'll have like if statements inside if statements inside if statements, and then another if statement right here, and it can get messy because you're like, well, did I forget one? Thankfully, Flash Develop puts them in for you when you hit enter, but if you're deleting code, you might accidentally delete one on mistake, so keep that in mind. Okay, so for the actual timer, what we're going to do is we're going to do var update timer, and we're going to make it type timer. This is in flash.utils, and it imports it for us when we click enter there. That's one of the nice things about Flash Develop, is that if you try creating something of a shape or a type that you haven't imported yet, it'll import it for you. And then if this wasn't imported, it would show up as black. So then you could do, well, I don't know what you could do, but there is a feature. I'll look into that and get back to you guys soon. Update timer is equal to new timer, and it takes in 2 variables for its, or 2 arguments, they're called, for its constructor. Arguments are what you send in to a function. These are all functions. Well, technically they're methods, since they belong to an object type. I'm just going to call them functions for the simplicity of stuff. Some people will argue that there is a very distinct difference between methods and functions, but essentially they're the same thing, so I'm just going to call them all functions, just to make things simple. So the constructor function for timer takes in a delay. How much time is going to happen between each frame? Alright, we could put 0, and then it would run at 1,000 frames per second, because there would be 0 millisecond delays. This is in milliseconds. Okay, typically, a 60 frame per second game will run at 6.66666666666666666 infinitely going on milliseconds. So what we will do is we'll just do 16.7. All right. So this will give us an update loop that will run at 60 frames per second. The repeat. How many times do you want it to repeat? We want it to go on forever, right? So we'll put in 0, because the timer is set up so if you put in 0, it'll run forever. If we put in 1, it would happen 1 time. If we put in 2, it would happen 2 times. So on and so on. But 0, that's how you set up an infinite loop. which is exactly what we want. We don't want this loop to end until the game is over, which would require them to press the X button. So update timer dot add event listener. So this actually populates us with choices that we can use, which is pretty cool. So we have a few choices, but the one that we want is timer event dot timer. So basically what we're doing is we're telling the update timer to listen for an event, and that event is for the timer to go off, all right, which happens every 16.7 milliseconds. So when that happens, we want it to do something. And what we're going to have it do is we're going to have it call another function called update. So we'll plug in update. Oops, and it tried doing update timer because we haven't written update yet. And you'll notice that it'll probably give me some red squigglies if I try to run it. Yep, access of undefined property update. What is update? The computer has no idea. So what we're going to do is after public function main, we're going to make a private function update. Okay, so we want it to take in an argument. So we're going to do e timer event. All right, so it takes in timer event. And then just like public function main, we're going to specify void as the return type. Don't worry about the return types. We're going to cover that in a later tutorial. So just pretend it doesn't even exist, but don't forget it. All right, so in here, we're going to have our actual update loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to do trace update. So it looks like everything's up and going. So we'll run it, and we'll notice that nothing happened. That's because we forgot one line. Update timer.start. Once you actually call start, it'll begin. I mean, I didn't even need to have to say that. It's pretty obvious. So you'll see that down in our output, trace is being called 60 times a second. And if you scroll through here, there is a lot of updates, because we ran for like 5 seconds. So 5 times 60, that's 300 of these. Okay, so that's cool. We want to do something different, Brett. This is dumb. Okay, well, let's do something different. So kind of like the private function update, so we have variables in here. These variables, if we try using them down here, they don't exist, because the variables belong to the public function, okay? If we wanted this circle to be accessible in both of them, what we would do is we would put it up here, and then we have to give it a type. We're going to give it private. Private and public are pretty simple concepts. Basically, if you had another class and you were to create an instance of main, if it's private, that means that you can't call it. Like this graphics right here and this draw circle, they're both public. Same with begin fill and end fill. They are public, meaning that you can call them from another class. If they're private, the other class doesn't even know that they exist. There's one more keyword protected, but that's a bit more complex. We'll cover that once we get into a topic called polymorphism, which we will get into about tutorial 15 when we're working with Flashpunk. So don't worry about that yet. Okay, so now in our update, if we type in circle, you see that it's actually here now. So circle.graphics.begin fill. Wait, why are we retyping this? So we're going to copy and paste this. Now the thing is, I don't believe we want to call add child because it's already part of the thing. So what we're going to do is draw it, but go 100 pixels over. So now you'll see that there's 2 of them. That's cool. Okay. Now if we were to do it one more time, 150. So That's basically the concept of moving the circle, is that you give it a different position every single frame. So what we'll do is we'll come up here under private var circle and create private var circle x. I'm doing a capital X. You can do a lowercase x if you want. We're going to make it a number. If you don't know what a number is, you might want to rethink taking this tutorial. Just saying. Okay, so we're going to give it 0. All right, and you can actually plug variables right into here. So circle x. So now instead of giving it an actual number, we're giving it a variable. This variable can be changed. So if we run it, you'll see that it's being put at 0. Also, I'm going to delete this just so we can see the circle that we're drawing. Okay, so the center of the circle is at 0, 100. Okay, let's make another one for our y. The number is equal to 200. Circle y. Okay, makes sense. But how do we actually get it to move? This is where the update timer also comes in handy. Sometimes what you'd want to do is have an update function and a render function. The render function, or the drawing function, would actually draw your stuff, whereas the update would just take care of updating all the variables and doing logic behind the scenes. For simplicity of this tutorial, we're going to put them both in here, but I'm going to create a comment called render portion and logic portion. So we can very visually figure out where the different portions of our update loop are. So here we're going to do circle x is equal to circle x plus 1. So if it's 0, it'll go, okay, 0 plus 1, and assign it to circle x. A lot of people just want to do this. This doesn't do anything. It's just adding 1 to it and then going nowhere. You actually have to assign it back to circle x. Just adding it won't actually change the variable. This is a common beginner problem, so if you're having problems getting something to add, subtract, multiply, divide, you're probably not actually assigning it back to the variable. Okay, so let's do this. Whoa, the circle is moving. Alright, we do have a problem with actually clearing the screen. But hold on. Oh, we have a green stripe. That's pretty cool. Okay, so now let's write this line of code another way. Sometimes you can do something 20 different ways, either logically or just using different ways of programming. So let's do it the second way. Circle x plus equals 1. All right, you've probably never seen something like this if you've never programmed before. Plus equals is the same exact thing as this. So it's saying, okay, we want circle x to equal itself plus 1. That's what it's saying. So if we run it, we'll see that we get the same exact result. Now, programmers are lazy, and there's a lot of times when we add 1 in programs. So some genius was like, alright guys, I don't want to write out plus equals 1 every single time because there are a lot of places. And then if I want to do something after that, I have to put it in parentheses and do more stuff. We'll get more into some of that stuff in tutorial 5, which is mathematics in AS3. So just don't worry that I said that. I probably shouldn't have quite yet. Circle x plus plus. Alright, if you've ever heard of the programming language C++, alright, C++ is a language that's based off of C, and they made a programmer joke saying, oh, hey, we're going to add 1 to C. So now you understand where that name comes from. It's a super nerdy reference to what's called the incremental operator. Yeah. It increments the current variable by 1. So if we run this, we'll see that it does the same exact thing. There's a second version of this called ++ circle X. What's the difference, you ask? Well, this one, adds one after the line of code has been executed. This one adds one before the entire line has been executed. We'll get more into that in tutorial 5 that I've already mentioned once. So don't fret about that. We're just going to use what's called the post-incremental operator. Whoa, phone's going crazy. Probably put that on mute. It's actually indie function stuff, funnily enough. Alright, so we're drawing every single frame. Let's do something else. Let's add a square here. But Brett, don't you want to get the screen cleared yet? No, not yet. We'll get to that. So private var square is a shape, which is equal to new shape. Private var square x is a number which is equal to 400, let's say. And private var square y is an int, which is equal to 0. Oops, a number, sorry. I have it written as an integer in my notes. Oops. So, first off, let's just delete this. Okay, and then down here, we're going to have it, so square x minus minus, oops, not equal equals, minus minus. So this is the post-decremental operator, or post-decrement operator. It does the same exact thing as ++, except it subtracts one every frame. Alright, and then that's going to make the square move left, and then square y ++ is going to make the square move downwards. So you got to remember, the way that graphics on a computer work is that it goes from 0 to, well, in my case, 1920 width-wise, and then the top of the screen is 0, whereas the bottom, in my case, is 1080. That all depends on your resolution, so look it up if you're curious. Our program is set at 800 by 600. So top of screen 0, bottom 600, left 0, right 800. Pretty simple. Alright, so we have these variables. They aren't doing anything. They're just variables. They're never used. Alright, and if we run it, some compilers will actually tell you that you never use it. It doesn't seem that Flash Develop does. I thought it did. That might be if you create the variable and never even call it in your script. That's probably what it is. Alright, so, oops, don't want to do it there. We're going to do square.graphics.beginFill. We're going to have it be red, given alpha of 1. Actually, you know what? Let's be cool and give it an alpha of 0.5. Right. You'll see why in a sec. Square.graphics.drawSquare. Doesn't exist. Let's try draw rectangle. That's what we want. So we give it an x, square x, give it a y, square y, give it a width, let's say 32, and a height 32. 32 is a multiple, or, sort of speaking the second sentence halfway through the first, is a common number used in computer graphics. So is 48, 24, 16, 8, 64. The reason why is they're all multiples of 2, and when you're programming some platforms, they require your pictures to be multiples of 2, or else it gets really weird. That's mainly a computer thing. It's got to do with bitwise operators and such. We're not going to cover that for a while, so don't worry about that. Just keep in mind, multiples of 2 work really well in computer graphics. And powers of 2 are probably what I should be saying, not multiples. Okay, so we have our square drawing now. Let's run that. Where's our square? What? What? We're drawing it. We're drawing it. I swear to God, we're drawing it. You know what it is? We forgot to add it. So a cool keyboard shortcut in Flash Develop is Control D. It duplicates a line. Put in the square there. We're adding the square to this. Bam! Alright, the reason why I did 0.5 was so we could see the square overlap the circle. However, because we're not clearing the screen yet, you can't really see it because the square overlaps itself, and what happens when you add 0.5 to 0.5? You get 1, which is full transparency. Now if we brought it down to like 0.5, you'd be able to see the end of it, like you can see right here, and then when we go over it, yep, there we go. You can see that it kind of gives it a different color. But yeah, that was just dumb thinking on my part. We're not going to do the clear screen today. It's pretty simple. Actually, you know what? Let's do it. Alright, so the easiest way to do this is to add another child in the back called clear. Alright, clear is going to be private var a clear shape equals new shape. Alright, we're going to treat this as a rectangle. So down here in the render portion, we're going to do clear.graphics.begin fill whatever you want your background color to be. So in our case, I want it to be white. So that's FF. Give it a 1. Okay, so clear.graphics.draw circle. 0, 0. Oops, not draw circle. Draw rect. 0, 0. 800, 600. Clear.graphics.endfill. So what we're doing here is we're going from the top left corner to the bottom right corner and drawing over everything with our background color. This is often how game engines actually do their drawing. Some languages and engines actually have a clear function that will erase everything for you, but sometimes you gotta write it like this. Flashpunk has a color that you can specify, and then that's what it clears out to every frame. So, wait. What? It's not working, guys. Oh wait, we did add. What? What? Okay, I actually am a bit confused now. I'm gonna try putting this down here, see what that does. What's going on? So we got clear in here. It's a shape. Let's try giving it a different color. See what that does. Oh, bizarre. Maybe I shouldn't be teaching you guys this. I obviously don't know what I'm doing. Alright. The reason why I didn't want to go over it is because I didn't have it written in my notes yet, and I didn't want to freeball it like this. So, you know what? Beginning of the next tutorial, we will go over this. So, you kind of have a game loop working, kind of not. We'll figure it out, don't worry. One thing that we could do is probably add this to the end, although that's probably going to, yeah. If we add clear to the end here, yeah, it's just going to write over everything. Okay. So, we'll figure that out later. So, you got moving shapes working, pretty cool. You learned how to do some logic with the variables, but tutorial 5 will take way more in-depth look at that. So next time, we will get the clear screen working, and we'll also be working with more variables and variable types, such as the timer, number, integer, boolean, and all sorts of other stuff. So until then, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I got a question from a guy a couple days ago saying, hey, I can't get the thing working. And I actually met up with him in Google Hangouts and helped him out. So if you guys need help, like, I'm here to teach you. So don't be afraid to ask, because I will try my best to help you. Alright, so until next time, catch you later.